Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this fine Monday morning, afternoon for you, or evening, wherever you may be. Where is everybody coming from? Tell me where you're coming from. And how about your favorite color? All right. So today, I'm pretty excited. We actually have a real bona fide guest, not just me. And it's good stuff. I talked to Will yesterday. I think it was Thursday. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're going to talk to Will later today. We have a pretty good show today. Let me share my screen and tell you what we're talking about today. Let's see if I can get my screen to work here. Share screen. Entire screen. Here we go. Share. Here we go. There it is. I'm pretty excited to be here again. Like I said, we have a really good show for you today. And I thought I'd tell you what we're doing. Today, we're going to be talking about model monitoring for LLMs with Will, with two L's, Buchanan. He's the man with a plan. So we recorded something, for the official thing. And I'll show you that, obviously. But he'll be around to answer questions. So get your questions ready. I'm pretty excited about this. And he after he did the demo, he's like, "Oh, I wanted to show you a better screen." I'm like, "There's still time, friend. There's still time to show your better screen." Number two, I thought we'd take a look at because we're going to do model monitoring. There's some metrics in there that I think may not be clear to folks. So we're going to take a look at some metrics for LLM monitoring. Maybe Will can show us. You know what I'm saying? What some of these mean, because I think there's like 9, and I want to make sure that folks have a good sense of what they are and why. Like, I'm fixing my soundboard here because I'm like, somebody touched my soundboard. It's no bueno. And then after that, I got to figure out what next week's show is going to be. So maybe we'll figure that out together. Pretty excited about it. All right, so let's see where everybody's coming from. Oakley dokley, we have friends from Dubai. Welcome. One of my kids is practicing the piano just right over there. It's not this, what you're hearing. They're not playing. I don't have like a band in the background. Maybe I do. You should imagine it. Louisiana, navy blue, welcome. Is the color. Toronto. Let's see, Toronto. Mahesh, I'm going to guess your favorite color is chartreuse. I don't even know what that color is. I just wanted to say chartreuse. Greetings from Argentina. Bienvenido. Fisharp. Welcome. Hold on. Stop the music. Hi, Seth. Is it? Are we? Hi, Seth. Welcome from the beautiful and sunny Redmond, Washington. Here in Washington, by this time of year, it's raining to the point of depression. It hasn't been that way. So back to Seth, though. Of course, our color preference varies by mood. It's a common thing amongst us Seths. Thank you. Hi, Barranquilla, Colombia. Bienvenido. Okay. Who else we got? Where else from? Nigeria. I've never been. I want to go. Some Fubas. He's like, hurry it up. All right, let's do this. Let's see if we can't bring Will on. Is he ready? Here, let me move this out of the way. Because time is Fuballers is got things to do. Hey Will, how you doing, buddy?
Hey Seth, how you doing?
Oh, this is my bad.
I was on mute.
I was on. It was me. It was my soundboard. How you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you?
Fantastic. So we are doing model monitoring today, and I thought we'd play our video first, and then are you happy to stay around and take questions?
Absolutely.
So for those that don't know you, like, what do you do? What do you do in the AI platform group?
I'm a product manager in the responsible AI tooling team in AI platform. So I specifically focus on deployment side scenarios such as deployment and monitoring and LLM ops.
Fantastic. So all the responsible things, but for LLMs.
Yes, and emphasis on models out in the wild to make sure that they're truly not causing harm in the world.
Wait, so we didn't talk about this in our video. So this also includes other models, like models that we don't have stewardship over, like open source ones?
If you're deploying on Azure ML, you will have access to a suite of toolkits to help analyze and mitigate any potential issues out in the wild. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'm going to mute this music here, and I thought we'd play the video. You okay with that?
Sounds great.
All right, let's do it. You're not going to want to miss this episode of the AI Show. We talk all about model monitoring for LLMs with Will Buchanan. Make sure you tune in. Hello and welcome to this episode of the AI Show. Where we're talking all about model monitoring for LLMs with my friend Will Buchanan. Will, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you, Seth?
Fantastic. So tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm a product manager on the Azure AI responsible AI team, and I specifically focus in deployment scenarios such as deployments and monitoring and production.
Okay, so here's a question that I have, and because I've heard the LLM model monitoring before, but I've also, my understanding is that the model is fixed, like OpenAI's GPT-3, the model's ChatGPT is fixed. Are we monitoring the model, or what's the situation here? What problem are we solving?
Great question. As you said, the model itself is fixed, but what changes is the production data. Your consumer behavior might change, or someone's trying to, say, make your model go off the rails in a production scenario, and you want to be able to ensure that it is acting in accordance with the evaluations that you deemed good to go in the first place.
That's cool. And so why don't you take me through the process? Because obviously my understanding is we're building like Chat GPT style applications. How does one, because you said you want to make sure the evaluations are working. Can you walk us through the process of how one would get started doing this real quick and then take us to the end? Because everyone always talks about prompt engineering, but they never talked about like what this stuff looks like once you've deployed it.
Great. Happy to. Yeah, let me pull something up.
All right, let me get your screen here, bud.
So here you see Azure ML prompt flow. And what this is this is a cloned template that we have in the library, and it's where you ask Wikipedia something, and it provides augmented question and answering as trained on Wikipedia. So you can see your inputs, your outputs, your URL, and specifically you can see at the bottom the prompt that you're giving this generative AI model. This is the GPT-4 deployment. And so what you want to do is you want to be able to create a deployment. So here we have a button where you can deploy, and I'll walk you through the process. So let's say
as you're going there, can I ask a question? So you basically in prompt flow, because we've done a lot of prompt flow on the AI show, you basically, this is like you've already built the thing, you're comfortable with it, the prompts seem to be working. This is where now we go to this step. Is that right?
Yes, this is when you're ready to bring it into production.
Got it.
And so in production, you're creating a deployment. And what you need to do is you need to enable inferencing data collection and app insights here. As you navigate through, you'll see the outputs. So let's say you return the answer or the context, which is user provided, to determine that your model is responding with the factual information that you might want in your application.
Can you go back one step, just out of curiosity? So when you're looking at inferencing data collection, what is it that it's collecting? And then on the application insights, what is it sending there? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, great question. So inferencing data collection is specifically the request and response to your endpoint. And so that's the inputs and outputs to your model. So it all comes as part of the payload. So what we do is we collect that to your blob store, and then we perform analysis on that data.
Okay.
And the app insights is specifically for your operational metrics, let's say CPU utilization. Uh, it's
That makes
just a
sense. So,
way to
so
turn
you're
that on.
covering like the input, the what's coming into the request. It's going through the whole prompt flow. An output comes out from the LLM. You're keeping track of those things, and then you're also keeping track of like hardware utilization to make sure the CPU isn't spiking. You don't need to create a new deployment kind of thing. Am I getting that right?
Exactly. It's
All right,
a monitoring is just a place to look at different signals that are coming into your model.
got it. Cool. Let's keep going.
Great. So once you've created it, you have a connection for your endpoint itself, and then you specify your compute, and you hit deploy. And so fast forward about 10 minutes, you now have a working deployment. And so in this, I have my endpoint. In the test tab, you can enter in something like this. And let's say I wanted to know about Alexander von Humboldt's cyanometer work. You can test your endpoint. And once it responds, you can then see the collected data. And so this model, given the prompts it was given, doesn't actually answer, doesn't hallucinate an answer here. It says, I don't know, which I really like.
That's cool.
So you've just done that. Now you actually want to be able to look at your data. So within the data asset, which automatically shows up, you can see your data. So this is the model inputs. And so in here, it's a JSON lines format, and you can see, okay, let's test it out. Yeah,
So
you
as you're
validate.
going, just a quick question, and
Yeah,
then you'll probably have to zoom into that so we can see it's a little fuzzy for us. So what you're showing is, and if I understood this right, basically when you asked it the Alexander question, it captured here. Let me show our face that way people can see. So it captured the input request, and then it went through whatever internal things it did, and it captured the output request, and it's putting it into an Azure ML data set right now. Is that what I'm looking at?
correct. As a
Okay.
data asset. So you have your model inputs and your model outputs. And
Got it.
one
That
thing
makes
we
sense.
do behind the scenes with this data collector is we generate a correlation ID, which joins your inputs and your outputs. And so our system handles that automatically.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because otherwise you'd have a set of questions and a set of answers, and you'd have to somehow map them, but that correlates them together. Okay, cool. Cool. Keep
Exactly.
going. Sorry about that.
Oh, of course. So now that you've verified you have your data collected, you want to monitor it. So let's go to a monitor. Here, I'll switch over. So in the monitoring tab on the left side, you can then create a monitor. So in this, you choose your deployment, let's say this one, and you choose your task type. And so specifically, it's prompt and completion, aka question and answer.
Got it.
You walk through the wizard, and here you can see the data assets. It's automatically scraping that, the inputs and the outputs. And as I said, it joins it on that correlation ID. Then you can define your workspace connection. And this would be your default Azure OpenAI connection for your workspace. And so then you can choose your deployment name. And this is actually the same one that you use for prompt flow. So it's quite simple.
Okay.
Then you can choose your production data asset window. Let's keep it at 7 days. And here's where it gets really interesting. Uh, if you only give your model inputs and collect only the outputs, then you can monitor for two metrics. They are coherence and fluency. But if you provide additional context, which is user defined, you can ensure that your model is not hallucinating or providing answers that are irrelevant to that user provided context. Does that make
So
sense?
let's pause right there because this is a question that maybe I've struggled with or other people might struggle with. We don't have the right answer when it comes to like there's no like I don't know. I know there's like the question that here. Let me show my face so people can see it. So there's like the question comes in and the answer comes out. What are we actually testing? Because we don't know what the right answer is, or if it is the right answer. You mentioned something about context. Can you walk us through kind of what these things are testing in production? Because we like in general machine learning, you have like the answer and you can see is the answer the right answer, and then that's how you score it. What are we actually scoring here?
So, great question. Some of the metrics that we're doing are GPT-assisted metrics. So you
Okay.
have a very powerful model like GPT-4 that is given specific prompts, and then it provides evaluations. It scores the outputs. And so we have a suite of metrics which are used in the evaluation stage. The first one is groundedness. It's a really, really important one to make sure your model is not hallucinating. So it can come from a scale of 1 to 5. And so you'd use it when you're worried that your app generates information that's not part of the trained knowledge. Let's say you have a retail chatbot and you don't want it to pull information or fabricate something.
Right.
Similar to relevance as well. This would be if you expect high utility for your generative AI system and you want the answers to really enhance user experience. As I said, the if you provide only the inputs and the outputs, then you can measure the coherence and fluency. And it's exactly what it sounds like. Is your
Ah.
model coherent or is it babbling on incomprehensibly like I might be now? Or fluency, is it speaking in halting language that is not really valuable for a user? So there are 5 metrics that you get out of the box. And so what I just showed in the monitoring wizard, wherever it is a configuration. So when you add an additional set of metrics, then you type in your context, and you would know this in your flow stage.
I see. And so if as you're building these prompts, you're cognizant of what these metrics might be, and we'll obviously hopefully put documentation up so people can get to that somehow.
Yep.
If you build your prompts a certain way, you'll not only be able to test for these things when you're developing them, but you'll be able to test for them in production because what we're doing is we're setting up a model monitor on the data collected from the ins and the outs at inference time or at with the when deployment time. Am I getting this right?
Well said. Exactly.
Cool. All right, let's keep going.
Great. So this is important. You can set up notifications for whoever wants to receive any alerts, and then you can review your parameters. And once you've created your monitor, then you can see your monitoring list. And let's fast forward, let's say a week in production. At this point, you now have a monitor that's been running. And here's the dashboard that we've built. And so in it, you see the details of what you've been monitoring and your schedule. And so what it is under the hood is a pipeline. It runs on a user-defined cadence, and it'll tell you when your next run is, as well as what signals you've configured. And in here we have an overview, which is for GSQ means generation, safety, and quality. So these are the grouping of these metrics that we provide. And so in it, you can then zoom into your signals and you can view the histogram of these metrics over time. And so this hasn't been operating in production for very long, but you can see you're passing and you're failing according to that threshold. And what you have is a pass rate, which is passing or failing. What's the percentage of total rows that have come in that will provide that to you?
This is cool. So basically, what you've done is you've taken the measurements that you've used ostensibly during development time, at least we hope,
Mhm.
but you've moved them into production so that you can monitor these things ongoing. Because we might have assumed in our test set that users were going to be nice. And if they're not going to be nice, we want to know right away. This will alert you on a daily basis, or how often whatever trigger setting you have for the monitor. Is that right?
Correct. It
That's
will.
cool.
You can define it to run as frequently as you want. This could be running continuously. It would be asynchronously run. It uses batch behind the scenes.
Okay.
And actually, what I'm showing right now on my screen is the pipeline that powers all of this. So this is the monitoring backend, and you'll see a list of jobs associated with your monitor. Let's dive into this one. It's your job history, and I'll show you what a successful one is. And you have your model inputs and your outputs. And as I said, we join the data, and then you calculate metrics. And these metrics are the same evaluation metrics and the components that have been used earlier in the life cycle. And then we push the metrics to the UI where you can consume it.
That's cool. So under the hood, this is all running like Azure ML standard monitoring that we do for regular models, but now for prompt engineered models.
Exactly.
That's amazing. That's cool. And like I said, I think the cool bit about this is like we build these things with the best of intentions. We build all this tests, but if it goes off the rails, it's nice to have that security blanket of knowing that it will alert you if something is incorrect.
Exactly. And that gives you the peace of mind to deploy your application and let it run in production environments.
So this is really cool stuff. Where can people go to find out more about this?
We have a pretty great set of documentation that we just published. I would encourage you to visit that. I think the link is in the screen.
There you go.
We'd love to have you to try this out. Uh, it's a really rich and robust offering, and we're looking to collect more feedback. We have some really
Amazing.
exciting announcements coming up too at Microsoft Ignite.
Oh, this is cool. And so, okay. So go try it out. Take a look at this. Make sure it works for you. Will, thank you so much for spending some time with us, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for watching. We're learning all about model monitoring for LLMs, peace of mind when putting out your own co-pilots. Make sure you use it. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Take care. Yeah. My mic was muted like a noob.
Noob.
Gosh, Will, what's wrong with me? Like sometimes, like Will wakes up and he's like, "What do I even?" I'm working with this guy on a daily, and this is just this is the kind of thing he does.
It's Monday morning. We get a grace period.
Well, that's awesome, Will. So you were telling me before when we recorded that there was another screen that you had that had more stuff in it. Tell me about that screen and what kind of things you can monitor, because I think we went through pretty fast. Like, what is it that we're actually evaluating? So what I did is I'm going to share my screen, and then hopefully you'll tell me what some of these, because like you can't do all metrics with model monitoring. Is that right?
That's correct. You can only monitor a subset of these metrics.
Okay.
So you see about 5 of the metrics on the screen here are what you can actually monitor in production. And we have components that are backing all of these.
Okay. So for most people, they don't know what components are because you're talking about Azure machine learning stuff. Because I don't know if people know this, but PromptFlow is built on top of Azure machine learning primitives. Is that a fair assessment?
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the ones that you can use to monitor, because we have a lot of questions. Like, for example, let's see if I Himanshu Sharma. He's asking a really good question about, like, hey, not sure if this is the right forum. Currently working on responsible AI for LLMs. Wanted to check what all metrics does Azure offer for LLMs, and then he asked a couple times. So I thought maybe we'd take a look at some of these. So which ones are the ones that you can use when you're let's just pick one. Which ones are the ones you can use whilst you're doing monitoring? Obviously not this one, right? Because there's no ground
Correct.
truth. Okay. Okay. But this one you can't.
Fluency, yes.
Okay, so let's take a look at this, because I don't know if I understand what this one does. So tell us a little bit about what this one does.
Actually, it might be easier if you pull up the documentation, which I shared in the chat.
This one.
No, there'd be the second link. These are
Okay.
the evaluation metrics. Specifically, we want to focus on the monitoring metrics. So if you go down, you can view fluency.
Okay. Cool. Let me make it super big to the point of obnoxiousness. Look.
So while you do that, fluency is when you'd like to assess the grammatical and linguistic accuracy of the model's predicted answers.
Okay.
So it'll assess how well the generated text adheres to traditional grammar rules, syntactic structures, and usage of vocabulary. Basically, does it make sense? Is
I
it
see.
comprehensible?
And then it's like there's always it looks like there's, because I know about groundedness, because that one I've used in various and sundry demos, but it looks like it's the same scale, correct?
Correct. Right now, all metrics are on a scale of 1 to 5.
I see. And why is it on a scale of 1 to 5? Is it just that's what we decided, or
Empirically, we have decided that's a good scale to start with. We
okay?
might evolve it over time.
So this is fluency here. Um, is there a way to see how it measures stuff?
You would have to open up the component itself in the monitoring pipeline, which I don't think we have a screen up for it. But
So
you
let me see.
can see the prompts that were used.
All right. So let me clone this here, and see what happens. So let me open this up. Oh, look at that! This is so nice.
And
And
while you do that, I just
yeah.
wanted to mention for out of the box, aka you don't have anything else configured in your flow. You just have your inputs and your outputs. What you can get are coherence and fluency. So the model does not require anything special.
Okay, so fluency and coherent. Oh, I see. So you're saying that coherence is probably a similar thing to fluency, right? Or what's the
Functionally,
difference?
yes.
Okay.
Coherence would be, is it talking smoothly? How well does it communicate? Does it have brevity? Is it simple to understand? Fluency could be more halting language that doesn't necessarily adhere to grammatical rules.
I see. So fluency is am I using the language correctly? And coherence is if I've used the language, how well do I sound in general? Is am I getting this right? Because it seems
Yeah,
very uh I don't know.
they're related, and you will see a relationship in your metrics.
Okay. 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 So let's go. So I basically cloned the fluency thing. And so the fluency and coherence, you don't need anything other than the input and the output, and you can measure this both at the
For monitoring, correct?
okay, okay, cool. For monitoring. Okay. So let's take a look at this. So the input comes in, question and answer, and this would be the prompt.
Bingo.
Okay. Okay. This makes sense. And so for those that don't know, the way prompt flow works, if I'm getting this right, is we use other prompt flows to measure prompt flows effectively, essentially, right? And so if you're looking at this one, this is basically the prompt that's used to measure fluency of another prompt flow. So the question comes in, the answer comes in. It's like, hey, you're an AI assistant. You're given evaluation metric, fluency. Here's the stars. Blah blah blah. How do you feel? Blah. And so you can see that it's giving you examples, and then it's literally. I think it's using. Is it using a completion or a completion model for this? Is that right, Will?
I believe it's completion. Yes.
Okay. And so my guess is that the coherence one is going to be very similar to this.
Structurally, yes.
Okay. And so this means that in theory, people can invent their own metrics as well.
They can.
Is now here's a question. I don't know if this is available yet. If they invent another metric that just has question and answer, will they be able to monitor on those, or is that forthcoming?
I would say it's forthcoming. You cannot easily visualize those metrics yet.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. Okay, so fluency, and let's see what was the other one. So fluency and coherence are the ones that you can just use right out of the box, question and answer. Correct?
Yes, I actually sent you another link to the documentation. Maybe you could flash that. That shows the configurations. That's the next one. Monitoring evaluation
This
metrics.
one.
Oh, actually, if you zoom out and then on the left, you can do monitor generative AI apps in production.
Oh, okay,
Down,
let's
down,
see.
down. There you
Mo-
go. Oh, you passed it.
Gosh, this is
Going
the
up.
worst.
1 inch up.
Here,
Yes.
don't you like? Just as a side note, whenever you're like getting someone to click on something, it is the most. Will's like, "Rawr, click on the button." Okay, no, Will's nice. Okay, so what are we looking at?
Scroll down a little bit. I
Okay,
just wanted to show the configuration. So this is the overview of the evaluation metrics we just discussed. So those are the 5 metrics here.
okay,
And then a little lower, you will see the configuration requirements. And so we have a nice table, which can tell you, as we discussed, the coherence and fluency works on the prompt, aka input, and completion, aka output.
okay.
So out of the box, that's what you get, as we said. And if you add the context field, you can additionally add groundedness to prevent what is commonly called hallucinations or relevance if it's
I see.
providing irrelevant answers.
Okay, so for these ones though, are you saying we can monitor these ones as well?
You can.
So okay, so here's a question. So someone might have this question, maybe they might be saying, well, where is this coming from? So can you give me an example of how one would get the context as part of a prompt flow?
Certainly. Now, let's say you have a retail chatbot and it's designed to respond according to your retail catalog. And so what you can do is you can provide a snippet of context that makes sure that it's not pulling answers out of thin air, and it's actually factually referencing what you have defined as context and or ground truth in your data set.
Okay. So let me see. Okay, let me see if because I think I do this. I didn't know if I was doing it right. So I think this is helpful. So what you're saying is here's for example my Contoso Trek prompt flow that I've done a lot of work with. So this retrieved documentation I've automatically pushed to the output. So this would count as a context, right? But in theory, like I'm not measuring like relevance or groundedness. Is it relevance? Relevance and groundedness? Is that right?
Coherence, fluency, groundedness,
So
relevance,
no, but the
similar.
ones with the context is groundedness and
Yes,
relevance. So
relevance,
in
correct.
this case, I should probably add another Python node that takes the documentation, adds the customer that's in there, and then I can test with both of those things as the context. Is that right? Because maybe I'm doing it wrong here. I'm just pushing the documentation to the output.
It would make sense to add that as well. You
Okay.
can't cause harm by adding more fields, but you just have to be smart about how you bring in your column names.
I see. So if I that's why I put it as a context. So now it's going to have the input, question, answer, and context, and now I have enough to do relevance and groundedness. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, but in theory, I should probably be more clever about how I'm getting the documentation and the customer stuff. Is there a way to format the context to make it work better, or is just plain JSON okay?
JSON is fine.
Okay. So in this case, what I think I need to do in this case is I need to take the retrieve documentation, the customer lookup. I need to put them into another node and then output that as the actual context to make sure that the LLM is responding with. Because the other thing I'm not doing, and this is okay, and this is what I found, is sometimes the answer will not reference their previous purchases like it does here. But if I wanted to measure groundedness and relevance, I need to actually bring the purchases and put it into the context, which I'm not doing. And that would be able to measure it a little bit better. Am I getting this right?
That makes sense. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I've always liked Will. He's a man of few words. It's a good thing this isn't live. Oh, I'm sorry. What? This is a live show. This is cool. All right. So let's go back. So the only other ones this one you can't do because there's other ones, right? Similarity is one, but there's like GPT similarity. There's a bunch of other similarities. These ones you cannot do, right?
You can do if you provide the ground truth field.
And how do you do that in an actual prompt? Like, is this like, do you use the correlation ID somehow to correlate like a better answer? And then you can use that later for testing? How would you do this?
It's important to note that the ground truth field is not ground truth in the traditional ML tabular sense, so that you would be used to calculate something like accuracy or F1 score. This is the user defined set of ground truth. So it's very similar conceptually to context.
Help me out. Maybe I don't understand because this is the part that always confused me. But maybe you can help me. Like how?
So that would be another input to your monitor. And so you would be defining, let's say, the price of your sleeping bags, and you have a formatted JSON that could tell you those prices. This could be seen as the ground truth there
Cool,
to
but you
make sure
can't.
that it's not fabricating numbers for the prices, for instance.
I see. But this one you can't do in when you're in production for model monitoring. Correct.
No, this you can do. You would just have to switch the context field to the ground truth field.
How would I do that? Like, so this is the part that's confusing to me, and I'm not like doing it for the show. I'm actually confused. Well, how do I? How would I put that in here though?
So you'd have another node. Perhaps it's not the customer lookup node. This would be the ground truth node. And let's say in that you're pulling from your customer database, and you then say, this is the ground truth that I want the answers to be scored against. So my JSON of my sleeping bag prices or my retail catalog.
Okay, but how would you know that that's the right thing based upon the question. You're just hoping that people are pulling the right ground truth out.
That is correct. That is entirely dependent on the user. So
Okay.
we can't say this is objectively ground truth. That is entirely up to the customer.
Okay, so let me archive this thing, and then let me archive this thing, because I want to look at those actual. So which one of the you're saying GPT similarity? Is that the one that we're talking about?
Correct.
Or is it ADA similarity?
GPT similarity.
Okay. So let me go to this and let me clone it and let me take a look at the prompt, because maybe that will help me understand it just a tiny bit more. So is this just as before, these things coming in, right? Question, ground truth, a question answer, which is what we're used to. This is ground truth. Okay. Okay, I get this. I get it. This makes sense. But the reality is that you could probably make. I see. Okay, this makes sense. Okay, this is similar to the other one. Okay, this makes sense. So if you have some truth that you want to measure it against, similar to groundedness, but a little bit less.
Similar but different is the best way you could summarize it.
Got it. So here's a question from Explica Me. Does it work for open source LLMs as well? Like, so for example, if I'm using like a different in the Copilot, if I'm using like not, GPT 3.5, if I'm using like Llama 2, would this still work?
That's a great question. Now, specifically, we have vetted this to be using a GPT model, let's say GPT 3.5 Turbo, GPT-4, or GPT-4 32K. Those are the models that can perform these evaluations. It is not advisable to use a smaller, less powerful model to perform the metrics calculation, but in theory, it is possible. Again, it is not advised.
But let's be precise, because you're talking about there's two different. This could potentially be two different questions. Let me bring this up. The first question might be, can we use this approach for testing LLMs, LLM apps that use Llama? So, for example, Llama is the one that's in the prompt flow, but we're still using GPT 3.5 Turbo and GPT-4 to do the evaluation. That for sure would work.
For sure.
Okay. But then
the beauty is, as long as you have your required fields, question, answer, context, or ground truth, then you can perform the monitoring.
Cool. The other question that you were also answering is, can I use the Llama models to be the one that tests? And your answer is, sure, you could, but we haven't empirically. We know for sure this stuff works with the GPT 3.5 Turbo, GPT 3.5 16K, and GPT-4. We know for sure that though evaluating with those works. You can do the other ones. Like, there's no reason why you couldn't go into this particular similarity prompt flow and change out the LLM to something else, but we're not as sure that it will work. So those are the two different things. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
All right. Oh gosh, my watch AI is saying I don't understand. Of course you wouldn't. I'm not evaluating you right now. These are the jokes, people. Okay, so is there anything else that I probably missed that we should discuss too, as well? By the way, here's Mallory. They're saying it seems like fluency. Does it make sense? And coherence. Does it sound good?
I think that's a good summary.
Wow. I don't know. We should like screenshot this and then put like in our docs from Mallory, because that's a really good thing. All right. So Will, anything else you want to add to any of this goodness?
Well, as I said earlier, I would love to show off this screen that I didn't in the demo.
Ooh, let's do it.
Pretty important to close the loop.
All right. Where are you sharing your screen yet?
I will try.
Let me undo my screen here, and then let's get yours going here. What do we got here? Oh, here we go. I heard something. Here we go. Here's your screen. So this is the screen you wanted to show us, right?
Yes. And so this is your monitoring overview, and you have a group of signals. So generation safety quality is your signal, which contains the metrics you're choosing to evaluate. Now, in this, you can see the passing rate, the percentage of instances that are passing over time. And what I wanted to show is, I think I already showed the histogram of how many are passing and failing groups, but What I did not show is the samples. And I think this is really important for doing root cause analysis. And so for each of these metrics, coherence, fluency, groundedness, relevance, etc., you can actually see what went wrong. So we'll automatically collect it and we'll create a data asset for you. And you can explore it. So this helps you can pull this into your evaluations and you can do a deeper dive on your analysis.
Oh, this is cool. So basically, not only will the monitors like tell you if something is wrong, but they'll also point to exactly which one had a problem.
Exactly. And just pointing out Murphy's law of live demos is that this is a live monitor. So the latest run is empty because we have not injected any data to make it look pretty. So it's in last week's run where we created the data.
Oh, I see. So this is running like once a week. You can trigger it on any schedule, basically. So you can have your dailies
Correct.
to make sure this thing isn't going off the rails.
Correct. You could have it minutely if you choose.
Amazing. Well, Will, anything else you'd like to add before we let you go, my friend?
That's everything. We'd love feedback. We'd love to have some additional input. So please try it out.
Dude, you're the best. It's good talking with you, bud. We'll see you soon.
Likewise, Seth.
Cheers. All right. So let's see. Any other questions here? Here's a good question. Does the Python button does the Python button refer to possible filters you may add in the flow, e.g. regex, whatever? Let me show you what this is so you can get a sense, because we've been doing some prompt flow shows. We're so glad you're here, by the way. So let's go back to this here. And let me go to this flow and control so trek. So this represents, the Python node represents really anything, any code to do any, I'm like covering my face. Maybe that's a good idea here. Maybe I'm just like, I'm going to be like
the short guy. I'm the short guy. So.
No, I'm not going to do that. We're professionals here. Yeah, so this represents not just filters, but any code that you can run to pull any kind of data to inject into your prompt. So you are basically, you're not, I'm so dumb. Thank you, Explica. I'm sorry. Yay! I even pushed the wrong button. So here is my screen. Here's my screen. Let me zoom in. So in theory, this represents the inputs to the entire prompt flow. So you can see it's all here. Inputs to the entire prompt. Each one of these things represents you fetching or doing something with data with the goal of having things injected into the prompt that then gets sent to the LLM. And then once you do that, you can actually see the output of the LLM. Like, here's the output. Hi, Emily. Hi, Emily. Thank you for here. We'll do it like we're selling something. Hi, Emily. Thank you for your question. We have a variety of jackets, including the Summit Breeze jacket and the Rainguard hiking jacket. Both are designed for outdoor activities and offer unique features to fit your needs. The Summit Breeze jacket is lightweight, windproof, and water resistant. Both options have adjustable features and multiple pockets. It's important. Apparently, I have recently learned that we don't put pockets in anything for women. So this is very important. I don't know why we don't do that. I don't know what the heck is going on with that. We should fix that as soon as possible. And Contoso Trek is on the forefront of providing pockets, even to their female customers. They would pair well with your Trek Star hiking sandals and your Alpine Explorer tent. Only $49.99 plus tax. Maybe I should have gone into radio. I've been told I have the face for it. All right, so gosh, I'm so dumb. So I'm going to show you something because I think I made, like, how I usually I'm like next week on the AI show. This is the card I have for it. Join us. Join us Monday, October 16th for our live stream. An ingenious way to do something with AI that's new and innovative with someone awesome. Turns out I'm out of town next week. So if you're in the UK, maybe I'll come see you. We'll meet at a pub or something. I'll have fish and chips and be the quintessential American in your country eating food that's probably not the best. So so I was like, hey, Cassie. And she's like,
What? No, Cassie doesn't talk like this. Cassie, do you talk like this?
Actually, I kind of do. It's funny. Just kidding. That was my best attempt at trying to make that voice.
I call it the oh man, I'm tearing up. I call it the helium voice.
The
I like it.
helium voice.
I bought this thing called a Zoom V3, and what you do is you put your mic into it, and then it goes into your soundboard, and I can do all sorts of things. Like I can push a button and sound like a robot. I have a really deep voice. It's the dumbest thing I've spent. But again, it was the pandemic. It's the dumbest thing I've spent money on. But again, it was the pandemic. Cassie, do you have something dumb you spent your money on during the pandemic? Because I think we have the same brain. You probably did.
Yeah. I mean, my entire desk setup got insane. I built that like pipe mount, but like I built a custom mount because I had so many things, so much tech to mount to my desk that I could not find a mount like from a normal store that could actually support the amount of tech I wanted to mount to my desk. So I built my own, which includes buying all the dumb tech I wanted to mount to my desk.
She's like, I purchased a lathe so that I can spin my own tools to actually make the mount I wanted. You went overboard. Did you really buy a lathe? I don't even know.
I did not buy a lathe. I made it out of pipe. I actually wrote a blog on it because it got like a lot of people asked me when I built it how I did it. So I ended up just writing a blog because it's out of like carbonized pipe actually that I spray painted. Drilled holes in my desk actually too. I was like, really hope this works out because
she's like
drilling holes here. It's permanent.
I constructed a rudimentary foundry, and then out of carbon fibers that I melted down at extreme temperatures, 300 Kelvin to be precise. Totally making stuff. So Cassie, the reason why I'm bringing you here is because I forgot I'm out of town. So can you do next week's show?
Yeah, I think I can do that.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about next week? What do you think?
Well, you know how much I like to make AI and C# work well together.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, that's a theme that I enjoy. I think there's lots of great Python examples but you know, like us C# devs don't always want to write Python. We don't necessarily have to apply AI into our applications and make intelligent, amazing things, right?
Yes.
So I want to show this cool project that I worked on that shows how you can inference the Llama V2 model in C# locally.
Locally?
Yeah.
I think
Would that be okay?
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah. We had a really rush demo for a very high level person at Microsoft who we will not mention, but they were like, we need a Llama 2 demo running on Windows, and I think you got it working in like 3 harrowing days of sweating bullets. Is that right?
That's accurate. Yep.
Okay, so for those that want a little bit more of a taste of what it might be, can you give us a sense for like, are we talking like running this thing but like calling like a model in the cloud, or are you talking about literally running it locally?
Literally running it locally. We have an Onyx Llama V2 model, and we built all of the inference code in C#. So we will walk through how Llama's inferenced and the different kind of data prep things you need to do. We'll talk about the different tokenizers, how we got that working. I don't want to give away too much because, you want people to show
up
how I did it. But the thing that's I think is interesting about it is I've done the same thing with Stable Diffusion. And the process of getting something to work in C# AI models I can also kind of abstract it to other open source models. So it won't necessarily just be applicable to Llama or Stable Diffusion. You can take this process and start implementing models in C# for any model that you've converted to Onyx.
And this is cool because like some people, like especially in fintech or medical, might want to be able to run models locally, you know, when they're developing stuff, just to be sensitive. Obviously, the best place to put these in the cloud is if you're babysitting a model locally. Ooh, like just getting CUDA to work is like.
Yes, CUDA can be a pain, particularly for people that aren't familiar with data science, right? So it's a kind of another thing you have to learn and go through. We will be using the DirectML execution provider, though. So you don't have to do that.
That is delightful. I heard. Oh, I don't want to give away. I don't want to give away more stuff. So, okay. Well, Cassie, thank you for being so kind and literally paying off this show that we're doing here with this an ingenious way to do something with AI that's new and innovative with someone awesome. I believe that someone awesome now is you.
I love that slide. I mean, that should be the slide we use for every single.
Like, we'll just go in there in Photoshop and like change the date. Hey, next week on the AI show, an inspiring and genius way. I said ingenious. Maybe we should say inspiring and ingenious. I'm not gonna lie. I use GPT-4 a lot to make my stuff more interesting. So if you're looking at the if you're on YouTube and looking at the summary of this thing, I totally went into AOAI, Azure OpenAI. I was like, you are an AI assistant, an expert copywriter who makes a living writing YouTube descriptions given a title. And literally that's what it produced. Like, have you looked at the title of this video? I gotta go there. Because I like aka.ms AI show live. If you're looking at it, I'm not gonna hit play because it's gonna like feedback. Like, it even gives me like those icons. Get ready to dive deep into the world of model monitoring for large.
Are we supposed to see your screen right now?
No, I don't want to, but I'm reading it.
Okay. I was like, wait, are we doing this again? You're like,
ouch. She's like, dude, I just got called out again. I'll show my screen, Cassie. I'll show it. I mean, if you're gonna call me out, this thing right now, this GPT-4 built, and I just edited it. It even had like, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon to stay updated on. I was like, this is who I've become, Cassie. So thank you for shaming me. It was well warranted. All right, Cassie, thanks for being here, friend. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. All right, bye.
Cheers. All right, friends. That was Cassie. She's the best. We have a couple of minutes left, so I thought we'd go through where we left off on our Contoso. Were we working on Contoso Trek? What were we working on last time? I don't even remember. Okay, so let me do file, open recent. I think it was Contoso Trek. Okay, so here's Contoso Trek. Oh, jeez. That's embarrassing. Oh, good. I wasn't sharing my screen. I'm glad I wasn't sharing my screen. That's because all my keys were exposed. So the one time I was like, I almost exposed all my keys, but I didn't because I closed everything because I am the best. So this is a Contoso Trek. I think this is the thing we've been working on. We haven't really gotten into how to deploy these things and how to test them. So I thought I'd show you for a second. So here's some data that has some test data for this stuff. And if you're wondering, like, what the heck am I doing? This is a Contoso, the Trek one, but the thing I showed before, but now running locally. So here's me running this thing prompt flow locally. You can see it's doing the question embedding, it's doing the execution, it's doing the customer lookup, and response. And then here is the answer. Should be like the Emily. It's the same thing. Oh, it's Jane. As a gold member. Wow. you may be interested in our Summit Breeze jacket. Again, multiple pockets. Let me know if you have. So notice in this case, as Will was saying, as we learned from Will, when we do groundedness checks, this passes because I'm not putting. Oh shoot! I gotta put the walk-off music here because we're not putting the this stuff into the context, but we are in the output. Notice that we are putting the context. Oh, we're not even putting the context out, so we should fix this. Cool. If you haven't already, feel free to go into where is this? Go here, and then if you go to prompt flow, you'll see this glorious thing. We were trying to get this to 5,000 by the end of last month, but halfway there, not bad. If you go to prompt flow, you do that, and also all of this stuff that you're looking at here. Let's open this up again. You should be able to see all of this stuff here. Like, am I even sharing this? Let me make sure. Yeah, I am. I'm sharing this. So you should be able to see all of this stuff here. So make sure you go and download this stuff and give it a try, because I think the most important part that I like, the most important part, the thing I like most about prompt flow is how transparent it is. Like there's other frameworks and tools that do amazing things. I mean, I'm not, but I'm the guy that I like to see exactly what's going into these things. Like you can see the prompt, you can see the DAG, everything is in there correctly. So yeah. So yeah, make sure you download this. So one thing I wanted to show you is that you can test this stuff. PF flow. You can test this stuff in the command line. And I think I'm trying to remember how I did this. So PF flow, serve, build, serve. Oh, jeez. PS. Okay, well, let's go to the docs because it's in there. I'm like I don't know how to do this. So look at the docs, bro. Getting started with prompt flow. And there it is. You can pip install PF -B. That's not what I wanted. I wanted test the flow with the CLI. PF flow test flow web classification. Let's go here. PF flow init did that. PF flow init, we did that. Test the flow. Test. Oh, we want to do a bulk test because we already did the test. That's what I want. No, you can test the node. Yeah. Do a single node. Evaluate. That's what I want. Evaluate. So this is how you create a flow. Here's what I wanted. PF run create. Cool. So that's what I want. So PF run, and then PF run create. The flow we want is here, and the data. There we go. That's how we test it. So now this is going to run this prompt flow with all of these questions. And so let's see if it works. Good time. By the way, as this is going, just a reminder, next week, Cassie's going to be looking at the Llama model inside of Windows with C#. So make sure you tune into that next week. As always, it's a privilege and a pleasure to be with every one of you, talking about cool stuff, especially the coolest and latest stuff. It did it. I think there's a way to visualize this stuff. So it looks like it did it. Here. PF run. Visual. Is it visualize? Hold on, I want to do this one thing. So we did this. Show metrics. Is it show metrics? Visualize. PF run, visualize -n. PF run, Visualize minus N. Here we go. It's asked me to open something in a browser. Oh, snap. Oh, snapperdoodles. How delightful is this? Wow. I wonder if there's like a PF run show detail. Yep. There's another way to do it. Show details and visualize. How about them apples? Look at that. This is awesome. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for being with us. We have been learning all about model monitoring. Thank you so much. Next week on the AI show, we're going to be talking all about Llama 2 models. We'll see you later. Bye.